Hey everyone, it is Bridget here from Bridget's Kitchen, wishing you a very happy hump day. It is Wednesday here in Sydney today, and my goodness, the weather is absolutely phenomenal. Not a cloud in the sky, even though yes, I know we still want a bit of rain, but absolutely wonderful. You know, it finally feels like we're heading finally into the next season after having quite a long winter. Even though I was told that it's quite a warm winter, it still feels like it's been a very long winter. So it's so nice to know that we're finally heading into the next season, which is one of my favorite seasons because we get to be able to start to eat light again. You know, we can leave off the really heavy, hearty meals and we can start to include more light things into our diets, and that is exactly what this little cooking class is all about. It's about celebrating the fact that we've now gone into spring, and spring means we can start to eat a little bit lighter. We don't have to be so reliant on big hearty meals, but we can actually start to incorporate more vegetables into our diet, and this is exactly what it is. Now, the recipe that we're doing today is I'm going to teach you guys a new way to do healthy sushi. Now, you may have remembered, or you may have seen it in the book, that I have made in here some cauliflower sushi, so using cauliflower as a vegetable instead of rice, because remember, white rice is a big no-no. It's a big no-no for so many different people, and the reason why it's a big no-no is rice is a very simple carbohydrate, and what that basically means is when your body eats rice, it converts it into sugar. So it's one of those ingredients that we don't want to have too much of in our diet, and as healthy as sushi looks, it's actually not that healthy if you're making it with white rice. So if we can take out the white rice and replace it with other healthier ingredients, we get to be absolutely winning when it comes to making something delicious and healthy and really good for our gut. So we need to avoid white rice at all costs. It's one of those, I know it's easy, I know it's convenient, and I know it's cheap, but what it's doing to our bodies is it's spiking our insulin levels. So for anyone who's a diabetic or who's pre-diabetic, white rice is one that you need to avoid, just like white bread. We need to avoid all these things because it spikes our insulin levels and it's not great for our bodies. So if we can replace it with something more healthier, then fantastic, right? And that's what this class is about. So in the book, I don't even know what page it's on. I've got to do a quick little reconnaissance of what page. Does anyone know what page the cauliflower sushi is on? Because I just want to show you what we did. I think it's in the lunch recipes. I think so. I think it is. Oh, Mahi, can you tell me what page the cauliflower sushi is on? I should have probably done this before I started the video, right? Can't find it, oh, found it, it's all good, found it. Right, page 119 in the book. The reason I struggled to find it, and hi to Sandy, joining us from South Australia. Nice to have you joining us, my love. And let us know, please, wherever you're coming from. Let us know what the weather's like. Let us know where you're coming from, because this recipe is definitely for us who are in the the bottom half of the world, in the southern hemisphere, as our temperatures are beginning to really heat up. And so this recipe that I made here some years ago now, it feels like a long time ago, was for my cauliflower sushi. So I know you look at it and you go, that kind of just looks like normal sushi. So what I did is I replaced white rice with cauliflower rice, and you get a fabulous little sushi going there. So today I'm going to teach you guys another way of doing your sushi. We'll do a little sushi rolling masterclass as well, but I think this is going to be something that you're going to really love, because visually it looks really appealing, but of course it tastes amazing as well. So that's in the book, page 119, and I use cauliflower, which is absolutely fine, and you can totally do this recipe because this is incredible, really good for our gut health, really good for weight loss, really good for keeping us feeling full. My gosh, we've got someone joining us from Houston, Texas. How are you, my love? It's so good to have you joining us today, and it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. We need to do a conversion, but I think that's pretty warm for 9 p.m. If I'm not wrong, 80 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty high. It is really high, actually. That's a hot time at 9 p.m. And then we've got Val, who's joining us from beautiful Geelong, which is in Victoria, and hi to Daphne, Perth, Western Australia. Good to have you guys joining us. We're doing a healthy healthy sushi. So that is in the book, page 119. It is an absolute winner. If you've never tried my cauliflower sushi before, I suggest you give it a go. It is easy and it is delicious. And hi to Amanda, who's joining us from Tauranga. And oh, look at that. Yes, so we just heard from Sybil that it was 35 degrees C. currently in Houston, Texas at 9 p.m. Ooh, that's a warm one. You're gonna love my sushi. Great for the heat. All right, so come down to the bench, guys. Let's get into this recipe. So as I was saying, we are doing a healthy sushi. So we need to start with the base of what that sushi is gonna be. And I've done cauliflower in the past, which was really amazing. And hi to Robin joining us from Adelaide. Oh, still picking up the live feed. Oh, you're traveling from Adelaide to Melbourne. I hope you're not driving and watching this, Robin. Of course you're not. Of course you're not. Absolutely. So let's get into the ingredients, which we're actually going to use to. Oh, I was supposed to reveal that. We're going to use to put into our sushi. Of course, we all know cauliflower rice. Now think about this. Think about this. We're going to make our sushi with broccoli rice, because broccoli rice, if you have not tried it, and yes, it is in my book, it's right at the back. I can find it real easy for you guys. Broccoli rice is fabulous. No, I can't find it that easy, guys. Too many recipes in this book. It's too big. Broccoli rice, if you've never tried it, I'm pretty sure you guys would have tried cauliflower rice. Look at that. Shaz is telling us it's 37 degrees in WA today. Oh dear. Oh, you're a passenger, Robin. Thank you. Wonderful. Good to know. Good to know. All right, so we're going to make it with broccoli rice. Broccoli rice is as easy to make as cauliflower rice, but broccoli, once again, has lots of really good vitamins and minerals in there. Obviously, it's green, and we always know that we should include more green vegetables into our diet. So we're going to make our sushi today with broccoli, and it's easy to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is track down. I've already forgotten one implement. Hold the phone. There it is. I need my little food processor, because yes, we are going to make our broccoli rice in the food processor, which is definitely the easiest way to do it. If you don't have one of these, you can do it by hand, which means you're chopping up your broccoli and then you're spending a lot of time making it small, like the size of rice. But if you have a little mini food processor like I do, it is quite an easy prospect for making your broccoli rice or your cauliflower rice or whatever it is you want to make. Now notice I am cutting the florets, and this is raw broccoli, of course. I'm cutting the florets quite small, because that is definitely going to help when we put our broccoli into our little food processor. You don't want to have big different size chunks, otherwise it won't blend quite as easy. So the broccoli goes in there. They're all around about the same chunks. Raw broccoli, of course. I've got probably a couple 100 grams of broccoli there, but once again, if you need to know the exact recipe, it is in the book in page 119. And instead of using the cauliflower in the book, you just swap out exactly the same for broccoli, exactly the same. So it's nice and easy. So into our little machine it goes. It doesn't need long. Watch how quick this is. That's it, right? What we're trying to look for, I've got a couple little florets there. I might just give it another couple of seconds. Okay. What we're kind of looking for, oh, there's a big one. I'm just going to put that to the side. What we're looking for is the broccoli to become the size of what you would expect a grain of rice to be. So you're looking for that rice-like consistency or rice-like size. And also we want to make sure it's all evenly blended, because then it's going to cook nice and evenly too. So now that it's like that, I'm going to put it into a glass, well, not a glass bowl, just a microwavable bowl, because the easiest way to do our broccoli rice or our cauliflower rice is actually to throw it into the microwave. Now if you don't want to use a microwave, you can also do this by laying it into a roasting tray. I've got an audience. Laying it into a roasting tray. That was my father-in-law just coughing his approval at the broccoli rice. We're going to lay it into a roasting tray in a single layer, just flatten it out, pop it into the oven at 180 degrees for about 5 minutes, and you will still cook those through without having to use the microwave. I'm going to look there, microwave, where is it? Can't do it behind me, there it is, over there. I'm going to pop it in there. It only needs a couple of minutes in the microwave, that portion, and that's kind of roughly a portion for one person. So just a couple of minutes, pop it in the microwave. I'm just going to give my bench a bit of a clean down, which is always very important, because we're going to move on to the next ingredient. And the next ingredient only requires just a little bit of preparation, which is really nice. So just a little bit of preparation. No more cooking involved. No more cooking involved. That's why this is such a great recipe. And the type of sushi we're going to be doing, broccoli sushi we're going to be doing today, is I'm going to be doing a salmon one. So you can use salmon, you could use chicken as well, you could do a complete vegetarian option. It is completely up to you. Once you've got your broccoli base cooking away there in the microwave, just heating through, it is completely up to you how you lay your sushi out. So I'm going to do some preparation. So I'm just going to show you what I have here, which is just my little board of gorgeous, delicious things. And I was saying I was going to do it with salmon, so I just have some cooked salmon there. You could use smoked salmon if you want to. This is just a cooked fillet that I cooked off yesterday. So there's a little bit of leftovers. This sushi is perfect for leftovers. You can basically put anything in you want, right? So this is a little bit of leftover protein I had from yesterday, and that's going to become part of our sushi. I also have a little bit of fresh cucumber. I'm using that for the crunch. So I do like it to be quite, you want to have a little bit of texture in there, otherwise it kind of tastes a bit mushy. Cucumber is a really good way to get in texture, as is something like a little bit of raw red cabbage as well. If we slice that, we're going to slice that really thinly. And then, of course, avocado. Avocado's fabulous, right? So we're going to be putting a little bit of avocado in there too. But as I was saying, you guys get... Oh, there's a microwave beeping. Let me come back over here. You guys get to decide what the filling is for your sushi. And like literally open up the fridge and go, oh, maybe I'll use up a bit of cabbage, or I'll throw in some cucumber. Completely feel free to experiment with flavor combinations as well. It's really, really important. So now that my broccoli's done, remember that was 2 minutes there with the microwave, I am going to just, all I'm doing now, giving it a bit of a stir, because you can see the steam that's coming out, and I want to release that steam. I basically want it to stop cooking. So I want to release the steam, so I'm just giving it a little bit of a stir, but that broccoli is obviously now cooked through. So you could do a little bit of seasoning, Himalayan salt, just a pinch. Is always nice, that can go on top there. And we're just going to leave that off to the side to cool down just a bit, otherwise you're going to have hot sushi, which is weird, right? I mean, you can have it if you want, but I'm just like, oh, it sounds a bit weird. So I'm just going to put that off to the side, only because here's one I prepared earlier that's already cold. So that's it when it's cooled down. You can pop it in the fridge to make it cool faster if you want to roll your sushi. But ideally, we don't roll our sushi with hot vegetables. It's just, you always do it with cold rice. Think of it exactly the same way as that. We're doing it with a cold vegetable base. All right, so let's prep up our ingredients. And we want to keep things quite thin because they are coming to us raw, especially our cabbage. So I just need to give my knife a little bit of a sharpen. So we want to do our whatever ingredients are going in, whether it be strips of carrot or other types of vegetable. Maybe you want to put a bit of fennel in there. You don't have to use red cabbage. You could use white cabbage if you've got some of that kind of hanging around in the fridge. It is up to you. But whatever vegetable you choose to do it in quite nice thin slices, because that's just going to be easier to roll, and it's going to be way easier to eat once it's time to get this into our mouths. So just a little bit of that cabbage, and a little goes a long way as well when it comes to fillings for sushi. You don't want to overfill your sushi, so our cabbage is there, looking good, happy with that. I'm then going to take up our cucumber, and once again, we don't want to have, obviously I wouldn't do rounds here because that would be almost impossible to roll if I did rounds. I want to keep things like that, strips. Like I said, whatever vegetable you are using, try and keep things in strips where you can, just because it's going to be way easier to roll. So we can do little strips. You could also put capsicum in here if you have some capsicum. But really, it's up to you. If you like it to be a little bit sort of, oniony, you could add strips of spring onion as well. You could also throw my pickles. That would be absolutely fine if you put pickles in there. But, just think outside the box. But at the same time, clean up the veggie crisper. This is one of those... Hi, Leslie. Good to see you here, my love. Thank you for joining us. This is one of those recipes that you can literally just, clean out the fridge. Do whatever you need to do. It's absolutely fine. All right, just the last thing that we're going to have is our avocado. We all know the way to tell if avocados are ripe. Firstly, of course, we give it that really gentle squeeze in the supermarket or the veggie shop. Not too hard, because if you squeeze it too hard and it's soft, you might get avocado coming out everywhere. But the best way to tell if your avocado is ripe is you see that little top there. See that? That normally comes with a little point on it. You can actually flick that off with your finger and look at the color that's under there. If it's bright green, it is still very, very underripe. If it's got a bit of a brown tinge to it, it is ripe. This one is probably just verging, because that's quite brown, on being potentially overripe in places. We'll see what happens when we open it. But it doesn't feel too squishy, so I'm feeling pretty good about it, but that's the best way to tell. Take off the little knob at the top just with your fingernail and look at that color underneath. Remember, if it is bright green, it's a few days away from ripening. If it is brown, it is probably a little bit past its use by date. You want it to be a little bit of a cross between green and brown, but this is brown. Let's see what's happening. It feels good though. The squishy part isn't too squishy. That's all right. Look at that, perfect. I'm not going to slice up the avocado because that just gets messy. Let's be honest, that's messy. We don't need to do that. Let's just keep it like that for when we start to put our sushi together. And guess what, everybody? It's time to put our sushi together. So you could use a sushi rolling mat for this. You could use a chopping board, but ideally, whatever it is you choose to use is scrupulously clean. So give everything a bit of a wipe down before you go, or before you start. Here we go, looking pretty clean, liking that. Right. What nori do we use? Now the nori that I have here, I bought this just in the supermarket here in Australia. I think I got it in Coles. It's just a couple of bucks. There's obviously 10 sheets in there, so it's really, you can do a lot with it. There's a lot of nori in here, and it's one little packet for $2. Now the idea is, when you are purchasing your nori, and this is so important, more important than the brand, more important of where you're buying it from, is please read the back. Make sure you read the back, because you want to ensure that the only thing you're getting in your sheet of nori is seaweed. The ingredient list should just read seaweed. There doesn't need to be any sugar in there. There doesn't need to be any added salts or preservatives. This is just a pure piece of seaweed that what they have done when they process it is they compress it so it looks like that. So that is just seaweed, and we all know how good seaweed is for us as well. And hello there to Georgiana, who's just joined us. Thank you for joining us today. So that is, yes, our piece of nori. Now, if you will notice, nori actually has two sides. It has a matte side and it has a shiny side. And you can see that's a completely different, right? Shiny side and a matte side, or a more duller side. Now, what you want to do is you want to lay the shiny side onto your bench, yeah? Shiny side down. The reason why we put the shiny side down and not the matte side or the dull side is because the matte side has texture, and that's going to help the ingredients to stay inside our roll as we are making our sushi. So remember that? Really cool. Shiny side down on the bench or on your sushi rolling mat, and the matte side is facing up towards us, or the dull side, or the side with the texture, and you can actually feel it with your finger. So taking our cooked and cooled bit of broccoli rice there, and from memory, I could be wrong, I'm just going by memory here, from memory, about 200 grams, which is, for our lovely lady who's watching us from Houston, Texas, 200 grams is 7 ounces, my love. Look, I remembered that from memory. Pretty good, eh? And hi to Julie joining us from Manukau. Very nice. So 200 grams is in here, and it is the perfect amount, would you believe, for rolling onto one wrapper. Perfect amount. Like 200 grams, mate, if you actually were to look at what 200 grams of raw broccoli or cauliflower looks like, it's huge. This is what I have here. How cool is that, right? So you can actually get a decent amount of good quality, delicious vegetables into your body by doing this and having a bit of fun at the same time as well. This is a really great thing to actually take the kids into the kitchen and teach them, because why not? Teach them, have a little rolling party, have a sushi making party. You know, you can lay all the ingredients out, have things pre-cut, and the kids just go there and they roll their own sushi. What a great way to introduce them to having more vegetables in their diet and also having a little bit of fun at the same time. Now for Coco, our daughter, when she turned 9, we actually had a sushi party, and that's exactly what I did. We had all the kids come over, and we basically rolled and made sushi the whole day. It was fantastic, and the kids got to decide what was going into their sushi, which was really exciting for them. So right, that is now on 200 grams, would you believe, 7 ounces of broccoli onto that wrapper. How cool is that? Let's now start, and oh, got to point this out before I talk too much and go too far. Notice how I've left a gap at the top. This is really important. I've left the gap with no broccoli. I've kind of made sure the broccoli's here, and I was using my spoon to push it down, to condense it down, but I've left a gap. Now I'll show you why that gap's really important as we begin to roll. But let's start to lay it on. So you don't want to overdo it here, and you're going right to the very end. So your gap's up there, down towards you. You want to start to put your vegetables, and as I was saying, you don't have to go overboard with filling it up, thinking you need to have, you know, a whole big pile. You want to keep it quite evenly placed and quite thin. So our cabbage went on. Let's now just line it with some cucumber, because remember, that's that wonderful texture that we love. I'm going to go in with clean fingers, of course, taking up my salmon that we cooked off yesterday, and I'm just going to flake it like where it naturally flakes. I'm not doing any cutting. I'm just allowing the natural flake of the fish fillet or the flesh to determine what size it's going to go on. So we've got our salmon, beautiful. And let's now finish it off with a little bit of avocado. It's going to go on top. Classic flavors, right? Cucumber, avocado, and salmon. Couldn't get any more classic than that. And we just put a couple pieces of avocado on there. But you can see I haven't, don't go overboard. You don't want it to be so fat that it becomes really hard to roll. So you just want to layer the ingredients over the top. You know, not be too greedy, because you can always make more, because there's 10 sheets in here, don't forget, and that means you're eating more broccoli, which is great. I'm going to give it a little bit of seasoning, just a little bit of salt, and now it's time to roll. So this is the cool part, the fun part. Don't be scared, don't be nervous, take your time part. Like literally, in this little container here, I just have water. It's just cold water, or you know, just water from the tap. And I'm going to use that just to dampen my fingers. And then, remember that piece we left off the top? That really important little area there where we put no broccoli. I'm wetting the top of that nori wrapper now, because that's going to act like glue when we do this. So coming forward, just going under. Remember, just do this gently, slowly with yourself. Don't have to rush it. And I'm just tipping and folding as we're going in. I'm making sure that that lovely edge that I created is still there, and that is what's going to act as the glue on our sheet, which is the water there. And look at that. How easy is that? Easy, right? That is pretty simple to do. So I'll do one. Should I do one more? I'll do one more. I'll do one more for you guys. Love it, looking good. So this is going to be a hot sushi wrapper, which is going to be a little bit funny, but because the broccoli rice is maybe just a little bit too hot. But as I said, if you want to cool it down quickly, just throw it into the microwave, not the microwave, throw it into the fridge, and that'll cool down. So going back to our sheet, remember what side we put down first? That's right, shiny side down on the bench. And make sure your bench or your chopping board is not damp, because that'll stick to it and it'll be very hard to roll. So you want to make sure that it's dry when it goes down. We're going to go back to our broccoli. Don't know how well this is going to turn out, because like I said, it's a little bit warm, but it's not too bad. Back to our broccoli. That's going to go on. Remember, we're after about 200 grams or 7 ounces of broccoli or cauliflower goes onto here. And if you can, just try this for me. Instead of thinking that we always need to have rice in our diet, we totally don't. This is just such an exciting and an interesting way to make something that we don't normally use, right? So normally sushi looks pretty, pretty white because of the rice, but now we have added this amazing green vegetable to our lunch or our, light dinner or whatever it is we're making. and it's such a nice alternative. Right, okay, happy there. Salt, just a little bit of salt goes on, just a bit of a sprinkling, and once again we're just going to lay our vegetables. Remember at this end I've left that gap at the top, really important. We're going to lay on our vegetables, lay on our cucumber. Well, that one's a bit big. I'm actually going to not put that one on. That's going to make it hard to roll. So we're just going to lay on our cucumber, lay on our red cabbage. Red cabbages, have you ever tried, well, we eat coleslaw, right? So eating raw cabbage is not new to us, but red cabbage has a slight sweetness to it that I really enjoy. So if you are even considering doing a coleslaw, just, you know, try it with red cabbage. It's really delicious, especially when it's in season and on special. It's even better. Right, salmon's gone on there, and then once again just a little sprinkling with a little bit of salt. We're going to go back to our avocado. Avocado goes on. Whatever's in season, your way is what you can throw into the sushi once you have your base sorted. And cauliflower and broccoli, of course, is such a nice alternative to what we don't want to have, which is the rice. Making a mess. Okay, fingers in. We're going to start to just add the water, which is going to create that glue for us at the top when we begin to roll. So just folding, remember, just take, this is the part, just don't rush it. Take your time. The more you do it, the easier it will get for you. If things fall out the side, don't worry about it. That's fine as well. It's a bit too much. I'm just going to take that up. A bit too much there. I'm just dragging it. And as I'm dragging it, I'm creating a really strong, firm roll. And look, it actually held up pretty well, considering that broccoli is still a little bit warm. It's not too bad. Held up really well. All right, let's chop. Let's see what we've got happening inside our sushi, because this is always the exciting part. What does it look like? Oh, don't waste any of that too. Look, there's some good broccoli there. Even though it was on the bench. That's some good broccoli. All right, chopping board, need you again. Let's have a look. Ugh, nervous. Always nervous when it comes to this part. I'm always a little bit nervous. Never mind, I'm sure I'll be fine. Sharp knife helps here. If you've got a blunt knife, you will squash everything out. So just, if you can, use a sharp knife. If not, when you are using, your knife is maybe not as sharp as it could be, just once again, like when you're rolling, take your time with the cutting too, because we don't want to lose the filling out the sides by applying too much pressure to the wrapper here. So I'm going to start I always start by cutting it in half first. That's the easiest way to get even portions. So I'm just allowing the knife to do the work for me, not applying any pressure. Fingers just there to hold both pieces in place. Are you ready? Are you all ready? Dun 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 dun. How cool, right? Doesn't that look awesome? It doesn't look healthy. That looks fabulous. So now I've got them in half. I'm then going to cut each half into 3 even pieces, which, like I said, it's really easy to cut it into even pieces when you just work on one half at a time. Move you over there. I'm going to work on this half now. 3 even pieces, so you get 6 pieces. If you want to cut them into pieces, there's nothing stopping you from just doing this, right? And just eating it like that, as in one half. But if you want to sort of set it up like sushi, the best way to get your 3 even pieces of sushi or 6 out of every wrapper, cut it in half and then just work on every half. So you cut the first half into 3, then you cut the second half into 3, and what you'll find is you get nice even slices. Right, let's put it on a plate. Let's do what we need to do to finish it off. I have my plate there. In here, I have a little bit of my lime and tamari dressing, which of course, the recipe for lime and tamari dressing is in the book. So I used some of the gluten-free tamari sauce, and I added some lovely flavors to it just to give it a little bit more of a zing than just straight tamari. And then all we're going to do now is just lay it. And it's all about visuals too, guys? I know that food needs to taste good, but you know what? It makes us even more exciting when food looks good as well. So when food looks good, our palates begin to salivate. We can begin to salivate, and then what we get is not just a taste sensation, but a visual sensation as well. And so I do suggest just taking that little bit of time to make things look pretty and make things look even more edible. We have a sushi flower. It's really cool. Can you guys see? We have a little sushi flower. I'm just gonna try and, here we go. Can you, there we go. There is a little sushi flower that we've created with our broccoli, rice, salmon, avocado, red cabbage. Looks red. Doesn't the red cabbage look great in there as well? That's why I went for the red rather than the white cabbage, because I knew I'd get that wonderful shot of purple, which is always gonna look really, really delicious. So that is it for today's very quick but very cool little cooking class. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you give it a try. Please give it a try, because we're just trying to incorporate as many wonderful vegetables into our diet, trying to find healthy alternatives to food like white rice, which is just not good for us in any way, unfortunately. Not good for us. So if we can find nice alternatives to that rice, we're definitely winning, starting to win the war, as they say, but also it's a great way to get more vegetables into the kids, just, you know, and get them to, seriously, get them to roll the sushi. Stand there and you guys can all do it together. You can even take a platter like this with all the vegetables cut with your nori wrappers to the table, and you guys can make it as you are going along. Here's another, just one more thing I want to share with you guys. If you think that wrapping might be a little bit difficult for the younger ones, get them to create a cone. See that? Get them to create a cone, stick all the stuff in there. It's a big cone. You could actually do, I'll show you a smaller cone. Cut the nori sheet in half. And all you do, pick up your nori sheet. I'm gonna go shiny side that way. And it's got my 2 fingers there, and I'm pulling up at the corner, and then I'm gonna bring those 2 corners together, yeah? So I've got my fingers on each corner of the nori sheet. Bring your corners together, and then just wrap around. And what you now have is a sushi cone, and you can stick the vegetables or whatever. Look, salmon goes in there. Whatever you've got, rather than having to worry about the wrapping, now go straight into your sushi cone, just like that. And then you have a little cone that the kids can eat too. Really easy to eat it when it's like this, especially the kids love it. The kids absolutely love it. So there you go, guys. Couple of ideas, couple of ways we can handle nori, healthy sushi. Remember, seaweed's really good for us, really good for our metabolism, and also really, really delicious to eat. So I hope you enjoyed this class. Thank you for joining me today. We'll see you again really, really soon here in my kitchen. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.